And broadcast. Oh, we're live. Okay, hello. Well, okay, so thank you, Miss Abigail, for joining me on my channel. After yesterday, we did an intense. I had my YouTube video going. Sorry. After yesterday, we had an intense interview on your channel, and then earlier this week, we had our collab talking about how to be confident for a photo shoot, because you and I both understand the awkwardness and the dynamic between photo shoots, me from being in front of the camera and married to a photographer, and you actually being a photographer. And so I'm really excited to bring you on today, and I'm really grateful that you appeared, you came, because I think you have a lot of like unique perspectives when it comes to understanding confidence for women, and how when women actually have confidence and apply confidence, they can be empowered to do so much more. So for anyone who's hopping in and doesn't really know who you are, I know you and I recently connected, so it's not like we're BFFs, but can you just give an overview, like the synopsis of who Abigail is, what you do, and what you're a little bit about?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you so much. It's so lovely to be on this side of the screen today. And yeah, so my name is Abigail. I live in South Africa in the Western Cape, and I am, as you mentioned, a photographer, a videographer, and I also own and run an online academy, and all centered around women's confidence. And this journey began when I decided that having been a photographer for more than a decade, I decided that I wanted to specialize in women's portrait work. And I began to notice how the impact of their confidence, the level of the confidence that they had, I began to notice how, the language that they used and how they spoke about themselves, how they showed up in the studio, and how that ultimately then impacted the photos that we created together. And that sent me down this journey of researching and reading and really getting obsessed with what confidence is, why some of us have it, why some of us don't. Can it be learned? Is it something that we can build up? And and that's led me down where I am now. So I still do photography, I still do videography, but now I also teach the whole mindset side of confidence, because confidence is really from the inside out. So the photography and the videography is confidence from the outside in, but the mindset, the self-worth, the self-esteem is when that shines through.
Yeah, I love that. So there's so many like diving boards you just set me up for that I want to jump off of, but I have to like focus so we can like get through. I guess first, like we'll backpedal a little bit, like you personally, would you consider yourself growing up like a confident kid? Were you a confident little girl? Like when you were growing up, how were you showing up in the world?
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I wouldn't say that I was. I mean, I was it depends on context. So, for me, it's all contextual. So at home, I was a very happy little kid. In my imagination, very, very happy, confident little kid. I did really well at school. I was an achiever. I was academic. I was sporty. I did all the things. I was like the quintessential good girl, do what you're told, do well at school, all of that. And that served me well for most of my school career. But then when I got to the last couple of years in high school, and I was achieving really well, but then I started to notice that some people didn't like it if I was doing really well. And I lost friends, and the mean girls and all of that kind of thing started to come into my awareness. I was like, oh, right. So if I'm shining too brightly, then that means people won't like me because whatever, I didn't know what the reasoning was. But I have such a clear, vivid memory of deciding that I never want to give people a reason to dislike me. And from that day, I kind of started to lose a little bit of myself. And pretty much the entirety of my 20s, I I kind of was a piece of tumbleweed blowing in the wind, going according to other people's plans. Other people wanted, oh, okay, you think that's what we should do? Great, that's what we'll do, you know. And so that was my year, my decade really of being lost. And it was only when I entered my 30s that things started to change. I started to work for myself. I started to build my business, and inadvertently found out that when you start to work for yourself, that's when you actually start to work on yourself. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's really interesting, like you said, I was like a tumbleweed, because that's a very clear, like I can picture a tumbleweed kind of like blowing around in the desert. And it's really funny because right now I'm 24, going to be 25 in January. So with my age, a lot of my friends are considering like, oh, you know, around my 20s are supposed to be the greatest time of my life. I finally have some freedom. I can do what I want. I can, you know, you have a little bit of money like that. Like 20s are supposed to be like so good. But you were saying your 20s, you were like a tumbleweed. And so how was that season of your life where you were like, what was that season like? Can you walk me through that part a little bit? Like, what were you feeling? And how did that affect how you showed up in the world?
Yeah. So to be honest, I was completely unaware of myself. I had no self-awareness at all. And I was completely extrinsically focused, and never took any time to really do any kind of personal reflection. It was all about, well, you know, our group of friends, what did our group of friends want to do? And then just followed along like a lemur. And I finished university, so I got my degree and then headed off to the UK, where I stayed for a few years. And I had no plans. I had no direction. I was basically just working to travel, but with no real, you know, passion about anything, no long-term vision. I had never set any goals for myself. So inadvertently, then I wasn't achieving any goals. All I had in my mind, the one goal was, okay, well, I finished school. I must go to university. I must get a degree. And then that's where it ended. Beyond that, I had zero vision. And so hence, yeah, so whatever anybody else wanted, that's what I used to do. Like, that's what the friends wanted to do. That's what the boyfriend wanted to do. That's what, you know, and I lost touch with myself. I lost a sense of who I was. And it took, breakup of relationships, actually cutting ties with that entire group of friends before I was like, well, who am I then? If I am not part of this group anymore, if I am not, you know, going out and doing all the things we used to do as a group anymore, who am I? And it took me a long time to get a sense of that. So it was pretty bleak, I would say.
Yeah.
I was lost.
At what point, was there a moment? Was there a story? Was there a book you picked up? Like, when did it switch? Like, obviously it's not one moment that changed everything, but it's like, usually there's like moments that create the change, or as the diving board for change. So was there a moment?
That moment, I think when I began to shift was when I actually walked out of a long-term relationship. And that's where I was like, well, my identity has been so wrapped up in another person, a group of people, activities, and that was it. That was like, okay, well, now what? Like, where do I go from here? And I had to do a lot of experimenting in terms of, okay, so then the rest of my life, I've got no idea where I'm going. I don't know what career. My degree was, I didn't even decide that. It was just like, okay, well, what's going to be easy, you know? So my degree wasn't something I was passionate about, so I wasn't really going to go follow down that road. And it actually took my now husband encouraging me to explore different outlets, and he always encouraged me and kind of voiced that, you know what, you're not meant to work for somebody else. You're not the kind of person who works for somebody else. You're the kind of person who does your own thing. And he encouraged me to go and explore. And so I did. And because I am a creative person, I did a bit of painting, sold some paintings. I did some interior decorating. I tried lots of different things. And then it was when I picked up my camera, when he and I became a couple and we started traveling, I picked up my camera and literally something clicked. And from there, the journey, like I can see now looking backwards how all the dots have connected, because it was then picking up the camera, finding that I have a bit of a natural talent for it, and then realizing years down the line, oh, it's people that I like to photograph. Oh, actually, it's women that I like to photograph. Oh, they have issues with how they see. I also have issues with how I see myself. How do I sort that out in my head? Pick up a book, learn to, build my business. Oh, I have to work on myself now as well. And yeah, so it has been a real journey, a real expedition, and continues to be.
Yeah. So one of the things that you mentioned earlier with my first question is, you said when you started photographing women, you noticed with some of the things they would say about themselves during photo shoots, or some of the behavior they would do during photo shoots would kind of signal or like tell you, oh, they're not feeling confident. Oh, they're feeling a bit insecure. And if someone's listening or someone's watching, and we go through life every day, we don't even think about what we're doing or what we're saying most of the time. A lot of times I don't, And so can you like highlight some of the phrasings or like the things someone might be doing that would reveal like, oh, there's actually a lack of self-worth here, or a lack of self-esteem here? Like, what are the things that you noticed?
Yeah. So actually, it like my first clues of where my clients are at starts way before we've even met. It's how they reach out to me. It's how they communicate with me initially. And so that initial contact point, whether it's an email or it's a DM on social media, or maybe it's in person, I can instantly hear what's their motivation behind the photo shoot.
Okay.
And for some people, it is a necessity. It's just something they have to, it's on their to-do list and they just have to tick it off, and they just need to get it done. And because they're in business for themselves and they've been told, it's time to update their photos. And so there already is a sense of, okay, so you're not doing it for you. You're doing it for the business.
Yeah.
And you're almost taking yourself out of the equation. It's just a function. And then others who contact me are like, well, I've maybe I'm acknowledging a closing of a chapter, a weight loss journey, a new relationship, or an ending of a relationship, or whatever the situation. And then I get it. So you are your top priority, and that is why we're doing this shoot. Then when they get to the studio, again, depending on what their intention and motivation is for the shoot, instantly what I hear 9 times out of 10 is, I hate being photographed, just so that you know. So I just want to put that out there. I hate being photographed. So that's a big one. Then I also hear, I'm not photogenic, I'm sorry. And they're apologizing to me that they think that they're not photogenic. And yeah, just in terms of the body language. So if somebody isn't confident, they're generally uptight, they generally keep, they've got all their bags in their clothes, because we do the whole hair and makeup and outfit changes and everything. I can also tell how into it they are, how excited they are by how much they actually bring with them. So if they are confident and they're looking forward to it, they come with bags of things, bags of clothes, like shoes and all the jewelry and all the things. They're excited. Whereas somebody who is not looking forward to it, okay, well, here's my jacket and I'll just, change the jacket. they want to just get in and out as quickly as possible. And then invariably, if they are, from a body language point of view, if they're nervous, they're holding their bags and things very close to them, you know, downcast eyes, shoulders hunched, you know, nervously looking around. So there's lots of clues around how they're feeling. And it's always my intention to create a space to relax. Just, it's okay. This is safe. It's okay.
I think it's really interesting because yesterday, when you were interviewing me, you asked if I was a people watcher, and I said yes. And it's really interesting when you take the time to watch how different people walk through life. And, you know, a lot of times, as I said earlier, we're just bumping through. Most of the time, we don't really think about how we look when we're grocery shopping, but someone else might be noticing us. Someone else might notice, oh, you have a bounce in your step, or, oh, you're not making eye contact with anybody. And of course, like, if you were sitting at a coffee shop watching someone and like this beautiful girl comes in with high heels and an amazing outfit and her hair's beautiful and she's like speaking to the barista so confidently, like you'd be sitting there like, wow. Okay, like, I want some of that.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting when you so clearly lay out like the physical attributes, what people are saying beforehand, because then we can ask ourselves like, oh, like, is there something that I'm doing that maybe I could, because usually like we act and then our emotions will like follow with what, so I'll get ready and then I'll feel good, or I'll, you know, start walking with a little pep in my step and then like the emotion will follow. And sometimes we feel silly when we're trying to like, you know, like, but I think it's really true if you start carrying yourself like with your shoulders back and make eye contact with people, you'll start to feel a little bit different. And if you just watch people, you can see, to an extent, of course, people have off days, but if you people watch, you can see if they're feeling confident or not. And I think that's so crazy. Like, so crazy.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. And so there's two points in a photo shoot where I get that opportunity to people watch. The first point is when my client is in the makeup chair, and so I introduce a makeup artist, get them settled in, and then the two of them carry on. And then that's my opportunity. I go and busy myself setting up the studio and all of that, but I'm listening to what they're talking about and how easy that conversation is. And I'm also looking to see, well, how engaging is the client? Is she laughing and smiling and asking questions, or is it just quiet, you know? So that's a very a good opportunity to also gauge where we're at, because like you say, we all have off days. We might be inherently confident, but you know, traffic, whatever, getting to the studio can have an impact. And then the second time is before I actually start shooting. So she's in her outfit, she's got hair and makeup, and then she's standing there, and I have about a 5-minute session where I explain how this is all going to work. And I ask them very intentionally, for me, they don't realize it, but I say, please just put your hands on your hips, because I just want to explain how this is going to go. And then I teach them about the posing and the light and the smiles and all these things. But I'm very intentional about the fact that they put their hands on their hips, because then that's a power pose. And then they take it down as we talk. I'm like, no, put your hands back on your hips, please. There we go. And carry on talking.
They're like, this lady's weird.
And then if they were nervous before, they're less so by the time I've finished my little intro, and then we can get on with the shoot. Yeah.
That's sneaky. That's clever.
My secret weapon.
Okay, so I have written a few questions down below on my laptop, and we've covered a few already, but I think I want to ask, just because you're also in the confidence realm and I want to hear your perspective. This is kind of a selfish time because I'm like conferring with a friend, like, have you noticed what I've noticed? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Like, what do you think about that? That's kind of what this is.
Totally on the same page.
yeah, we touched on it yesterday about like introverts and extroverts with confidence. But I think for me, like growing up, I was an only child. And so I spent a lot of time alone. Therefore, I grew up, in a sense, an introvert. And I spent a lot of time people watching and kind of analyzing how some people, like as you were saying earlier, breeze through life so easily. And then why others are just having such a hard time, like bumping up and being grumpy. And I think I would watch shows or be in classrooms and you'd see the class clown, and they would captivate the room and all eyes would be on them. And I kind of got it in my mind that, oh, confidence is this loud, fun personality. Confidence is someone like the center of attention who can hold an audience, like the forefront of this stage. That's what confidence is. And so I think growing up, that's kind of what I thought it was. And so when I got to the point where it's like, oh, I should have some of that. It's like, oh, do I have to be that person? And so can you walk me through your perception of like, do you have to be an extrovert to be confident? And if yes, why? And if no, why not?
Yeah. Well, no. And I can totally relate to that, and experience of thinking that confidence is loud, confidence is center of attention, and it is only through this journey that I've had the realization of, oh, there's this thing called quiet confidence. There's this thing that is it's a presence. It's not something that you can. It's not a dress. Yes, the dress is a tool. It's not your appearance. Yes, your appearance is part of it, but confidence is really a presence. And whether that is a loud presence or a quiet presence, it's the same presence. It's just packaged differently. I was also under that illusion that confidence has to be loud and that you have to be okay with public speaking and walking up on stage and being able to speak in front of thousands, and that was what confidence was. That epitomized confidence. But the further I've come down this journey, it's really, for me, it's about whether you're loud or you're quiet, whether you're introverted or extroverted. It's about being comfortable with who you are. My husband is a prime example of that quiet confidence. He is so okay with just being completely quiet on his own in a crowd of people. He doesn't feel the need to waste his energy on small talk. And I admire that so much. And yet, on the other end of the spectrum, one of my best friends, she's the loudest, most center of attention kind of person, and I love her energy, and we laugh whenever we're together. And so that's a different version of that same okayness with self. And I admire both, and I can relate to both.
Yeah. And one of them is not better than the other. They're just different.
No. Yeah, absolutely. Except that the thing is, the prevalence of that extroverted version, that is the more visible, it's more tangible, we can hear it audibly, it's in our face.
Yeah.
It's much easier for us to see and experience as an observer. So therefore, we have been conditioned to believe that confidence is loud.
Do you think that's a culture thing?
I do. I think it is. Because look at any Hollywood star, look at, what we are consuming, have been consuming since we were little kids. It is, the actors that can make fools of themselves. It is the comedian on stage. It is the speaker in the limelight. And they are so much more visible, like they are active. We don't even notice the quiet, confident people because the nature of it is that we don't notice it.
Yeah.
So, I think it is a cultural thing.
Lauren's over here in the comments. She said, "This is so good. I love the idea of confidence being packaged differently." That's what you said, Abigail. People with different personalities. And I agree. I think like when you were talking in the beginning, I got chills. I was like, oh, like just because like what you're saying, just because it is more visible, like the loud, extroverted confidence, it doesn't take away from the quiet confidence.
No.
It doesn't make it less than. They're just different.
Yeah.
And kind of how I see it is like when you have confidence, like what you said, you're okay with yourself. And for your husband, with that example, like he doesn't feel the need to engage in small talk. For some people, that would make them uncomfortable. Like if you're sitting next to someone and they're not talking to you, like that would drive, I don't know, sometimes it would drive me nuts. Like they don't like me, they don't want to talk.
The social anxiety I used to suffer as a result because of my conditioning. But that was my problem, not his. It was mine.
Yeah, but to be okay and be like, no, like I don't have to speak. Like I can sit in silence and that's okay. And I think another kind of idea I have with confidence as an introvert is like confidence is being okay to take up space when your time comes. So if you go to a networking event or you go to a meeting and that you're standing in a circle and you go around the circle and each person has their turn. And sometimes what happens is like not usually in the circle analogy, but in social events, sometimes the extroverts kind of dominate the conversation or and the introverts can like get pushed back. But at some point, you are going to have an opportunity to speak. And at some point, you are going to have an opportunity to take up space. And that's when the introvert really needs to have that foundation of confidence, because you're going to have to say, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, and I do XYZ." And you have to be comfortable enough with yourself to be able to say your name and say what you do. And like you have to engage in the world. Like you can't just hide under a hat with the world.
No, absolutely. And I think a lot has to be said about the, where the extroverts and the introverts draw their energy, and that the extroverts are drawing energy from the people around them, and the more people and the more attention, the more of the spotlight they're taking up and the more of the space they're taking up. And oh dear, sorry.
You're okay.
That's my nan's calling. And so for the introverts, it's being okay that, be there, be present. And when the opportunity comes or when asked, you're completely comfortable to have your say, but you don't feel the need to either go, even more inward or pretend that you're something that you're not. You're not expected to be as loud. You're not expected to compete with the extrovert. You just stay who you are, be true to who you are, and like you say, own the space.
So what are some characteristics, or what are some things that we can do to cultivate quiet confidence, or for an introvert to really like hone in on their flavor of confidence? Like, what do you think are just like off the top of your mind are some things that someone could do?
Yeah. So practices like journaling, meditating, I would say reading up on introversion. There's a great book called Quiet, I think it is. And just acknowledging that what you're feeling is completely normal, that you live in essentially it's a bias towards an extroverted world. And it's okay that you're not extroverted. It's okay, and accept and acknowledge, and find other examples of introverts who are successful, who are doing the things that you admire, so that you can get to that point of, okay, I have permission to be who I am. I'm not abnormal. I'm not expected to compete. I'm not expected to change who I am. I just am, and be okay with it.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I think we've pretty thoroughly covered the introversion confidence and extrovert confidence. Now we're going to scoot forward a little bit. Let's see. This is kind of, we're just going to do like an analysis of your year a bit, because this year was a doozy. So for you, how was 2020, and what was your biggest learning lesson in 2020?
Biggest learning has been adaptability.
Yeah.
The word, I don't know if you choose a word every year, but it's a thing. And my word for 2020 was change.
Oh, well, got a lot of that.
Yeah, I would say. And boy, have things changed so much so. And yeah, it has been obviously completely disruptive. My husband is in the medical industry, so we have been at the forefront of the entire pandemic, directly impacted by it, and huge concern and stress around it. Especially in the early days when there was so much unknown around it, and there was so much speculation and wild, crazy misinformation being shared. And so that was a very interesting time for us personally, because he was in the thick of it, and still is. And yeah, so it has brought a lot of you get into your comfort zones, and you also have the plans and the visions, and one day we'll do the things, and one day we'll get there. Well, this year pushed up one of our one days, and that was it pushed up our desire and taking action on the desire to leave the city and move to the countryside. And so that's what we have done. So huge change on that front. And then also I had, for the longest time, when I was a photographer, I was very aware, well, I'm still a photographer, but I was very aware of the fact that if I was not working, I was not earning an income.
Yeah.
And that it was time for money. And, the more shoots I had, the better I did, but I only had so many hours in the day, and I'm not getting any younger. And that was one of my motivators for building an online academy, because I realized, well, that is scalable. I am in my individual capacity, and my hours in the day are not scalable. But if I build something, build it once and repurpose it, that is scalable. So I had actually started that process a number of years prior. And this year has really brought to the fore the value in having an online business. It has this year has also done me a huge favor, because it has pushed me to put a lot more time, intention, and vision into my online business. But secondary to that, it has also done a lot of the legwork I would have needed to do myself in terms of educating my future potential customers, because they now realize how they need to be online. They need to be showing up, that business can be conducted online. And I had this vision of us being digital nomads and being able to work from anywhere. As long as I've got internet, my computer, and my camera, I can run my business from anywhere. And so this has really been the year of, cool, let's put it into practice. We're still in the same country, but we're getting there. This is our tasting ground. So it's been a really, from that point of view, it's been a really great year.
Yeah, I just want to compliment you on your mindset for a minute, because two things that you said. First, you said adaptability. And obviously this year has been, to most, a disaster to the plans, a disaster. Like if we stick to our rigid scheduling and our rigid things, like, oh my gosh, you just got hit by a truck basically. But instead you said, I'm going to use this time to be adaptable. And that's a total mindset shift. And then the second thing you said that really reveals like the personal work that you've done on yourself. You said, this year has done me a huge favor, I don't know very many people who would say the same about 2020, but it just goes to show how powerful your thoughts are, and how when you start to work on yourself and grow and build how you see the world, someone can look at 2020 and think, wow, this year's done me a huge favor. And so I just wanted to give you those two little compliments in there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, because that's refreshing to hear.
And it's not to say that I'm not stressed. It's not to say that I there's still not a lot of work that needs to be done, and that I also feel like I've had some steps backward in terms of, I lost all my photography clients. I had shoots booked that I had to cancel, and in fact some are still outstanding. And now that we've moved, I'm a 4-hour drive away to go and deliver on those shoots. So it's not to say it's been easy breezy and life is good. No, there's still things we need to, and we're still reeling from the impact of it. But my choice and my chosen perspective is that this will have been a catalyst of unknown proportions, because you can talk and talk and talk and dream about your vision for how long. And sometimes you just need a real firm kick up the bum to go and put it into action. And so that is what this has been. And you have to actually take action. Like, it comes down to taking action.
Yeah. And I think too, another perception I've kind of been catching in the wind from Facebook and Instagram, like I feel this vibe of, because 2020 has been so hard, like, I feel like some people, and myself included, like, oh, I'm supposed to be struggling right now, or, oh, maybe I shouldn't be having a good time. Like, for me, this year, obviously crazy, the first half, what is going on? Anxiety high, like, everything unknown. My husband had a lot of video shoots and they all dried up, and that's a little scary. But in May I got pregnant, and that's beautiful and that's amazing. And just because internationally, globally, like throughout the world, we're in the middle of such a crazy season, yes, there are certain challenges, but that doesn't mean we can't be doing well. Or that doesn't mean that we have to be suffering in our worlds right now, because we're in control of what's going on in our world. And we can't see each other the same way, or we can't have big events or parties. But just because the world looks like this doesn't mean your life isn't good right now. Like, and there's still, we're towards the end of October, but there's still November and December, and then hello 2021. And I think a lot of people listening might be thinking, oh, well, I'm just going to wait until 2021. Like, this
check out.
I get it, but there's still time here,
Yeah. And what comes up for me just a lot is that it's a redefining of what is rich to you. What does rich mean to you? And for me, if I look financially, I've taken a big knock. My business has taken a big knock, but my life is so much richer. Oh my goodness, because of the reassessing what is really important. What is that, like, working myself to, it was ridiculous the number of hours I used to work, and for what? And I couldn't, look outside and see blue skies and wild animals and, farmlands and things like that. I have that now. And so there is richness in other ways. And I think this has been a major shift for a lot of people, those who are willing to really dig a bit deeper beyond what we've been told success is and what we should be striving for, what we should be aiming for. When you actually just stop and ask, well, what do I want? Not what I've been told to want. What do I want? What is meaningful to me? And sometimes it's the things that money can't buy. It's the things that doesn't come with a price tag.
So can we talk about, like, I'll give you some of my examples of my riches right now, but I'd love to hear, like, what are some of the riches in this season of your life now? So my husband and I, we just moved into a house as well. And it's been so fun because I get so much joy, like, oh, these great big huge windows, opening them up every morning, like that feels rich to me. Like I'm like, that enriches my life, I should say. Or even something as simple as the morning cup of coffee. We get it from a special place where we live, and they deliver it to our house, and they have our name on the bag, and it's like, oh my gosh, this coffee enhances my life. Or going on a walk around my neighborhood, it's so beautiful. Like these different things all enrich my life. And so what are some of the things now in your new move that enrich your life?
Oh my goodness, I am beaming just because I get to describe this, because 6 months ago, the 6 months ago me had no idea what was in store for her. So I just want to paint the picture, give you some context. So we were living in we work in square meters, so it's 65 square meters. I don't know what that is in feet or your measurements, but a fairly not a big apartment, and a loft, like a New York loft apartment, like nice big open area, huge windows.
So it's about 700 square feet.
There we go. There we go. Okay, there we go. So we were living in an apartment like that, and I would look out the window and all I would see is buildings. Could not see anything green. Now in the morning, and I would do my sun salutations, my yoga on the cement floor, get my yoga mat out, and just at least face the window. I can't see the sun, but I know it's there, and let me do that. Now the richness of my life is that I get out. Well, before I even get out of bed, I look out the window here and I can see mountains in the distance, and I'm woken up by birds, and I'm woken up by the sunshine, which never happened. And I can walk out the door and feel the grass under my feet and do my meditations out there. And, I get to swat the flies away while I'm meditating. Like that is and then tortoises and the animals and the birds, every day they come and greet us. Like, it's just insane. It's insane. And it inspires me so much, and I'm so energized, and I just want to create, and I'm excited to do the work that I do, because my energy is being filled, and my cup is being filled by things that I was aiming for a specific amount of money, or a specific amount of, number of clients and things like that. And that didn't fill my cup. This fills my cup. Like being close to nature is worlds apart. Sorry, going off on a whole thing.
Yeah, well, I think to anyone who's listening and they're like, yeah, Abigail, that's great for you. Countryside, tortoises, yeah, Sarena, okay, whatever, beautiful scenery. My life sucks, So to those people, I think I would say, like, from what you and I have just said, like, you can't get what you want until you know what you want. And exactly. You can't know what you want if you don't know yourself. Exactly. And that all circles back to the confidence, which is being secure in yourself, knowing your preferences, what you like, what you dislike, knowing what you want to go after. And so if anyone's listening to this and they're thinking like, dang, that sounds nice, or, you have to get clear on who you are and what you want, and then where you're going. And then you can have, like, maybe the countryside isn't your thing. Maybe you get energized from the city, or maybe you just want to spend $7 on an oat milk latte, and that's like your thing. Like, I don't care what your thing is, but you're not going to get your thing if you don't know what it is that you want.
Yeah. You need that clarity. And then you also need to have the belief that it's coming. And you need to, the clarity is about having that vision and immersing yourself in your mind, even though your immediate circumstances do not reflect that, and trusting that it is coming. And every day I like examples of what I used to do when I lived in my white box apartment was, every time I had an experience or I saw something that reminded me of the vision I have in my head of where I one day want to live, I acknowledged it, and I said a thank you for that clue. Thank you for that little taster. If we went walking in the forest, which was like a 5-10 minute drive down the road, when I was there, I would imagine that I can't hear the traffic, and I would imagine that it's, this is my forest. And I'd be like, yeah, thank you for this feeling, because one day I'm going to feel like this when I'm in my own forest. And I'm not in my forest yet, but I'm a lot closer than what I am.
A lot closer to the forest than before.
Yeah, exactly. And so looking for those little affirmations of the clarity of the vision that you want. But like you say, you won't know it, you won't see it, you won't recognize or acknowledge it if you don't know what you want in the first place. And only you can figure that out.
Yeah, we can't tell you. Okay, so looking at 2021, how do you feel? And then where are you going with it?
2021, I'm excited about. I am excited about. I have no idea where we're going. I really, if this year has highlighted how we can make all the plans in the world. We can have set the expectations, set the intention, but ultimately, who knows what might happen. And so my kind of approach to it is, the one thing I do expect is to be surprised and delighted.
That's great. I love that.
Whatever it is, whatever it looks like, however it's going to be packaged, whatever it shows up as. And at the end of the day, we can have all the visions we want for where we want to go. And have that. By all means, you've got to have it, as we have just said, but also be willing to let go of that vision. So set the intention and then release it.
Yes.
Do not be so rigidly attached to it that you become the bottleneck to anything better, because we are actually limited in our vision. We do not even know what is possible. And so that's just a kind of a shelf to put our cup on until we get there, to be able to see what's beyond it. But don't get so attached to the shelf that you get stuck there.
Yeah, I have a simple example of that. At the beginning of 2020, I wrote in my phone for my goals, 2020 will be the year that I'm in the best shape of my life. And in May, I got pregnant, which we were trying, but I wasn't sure how long it would take. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to get in as best shape as I can. And it's funny because it's like, when you think best shape, you're thinking like big leg muscles, maybe a 6-pack, arm muscles. Yeah. And obviously that is not where I'm at now, being 7 months
other kind of shape.
belly. But what you're saying, it's like, it could be more beautiful than what you originally intended. And so of course, set goals, of course, have a focus or a direction, but don't be so rigid and I have to do this goal. Be open. What if, for me, what if you get pregnant? Like, that's great.
Yeah.
And, be open to a better delivery of a better quality of life to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So set the vision and then expect to be surprised and delighted.
Yeah.
And that goes beyond whatever in that direction, as long as you're heading in the general direction of what you're wanting. Anything beyond that is a bonus.
Yeah. And so that was your feeling, your perspective of 2021. Where are you going? With what you're doing?
Yeah.
What are some
of your
business?
Yeah, business wise. So I'm definitely, I mean, this year has really shifted things. I now do remote photo shoots. So if I can't, be with somebody in person, I can do it now remotely. So I'm looking to expand doing remote photo shoots. I've already done some for my friend in New York and somebody, back in Cape Town. So I'm fleshing that out, doing remote video and photos. And then my online academy, I'm actually about to launch a personal brand intensive. So the line of portraits that I now do for women is all centered around personal branding. And the academy content is heading in that direction. But at the beginning of lockdown, I had essentially a roadmap, shot me in the head like a lightning bolt. And and then we moved and things got chaotic, and now I'm at the point of, right, this needs to be out in the world. It came to me and I need to honor it by putting it out there. So next week, actually, I'm launching this intensive, and my intention for next year, I'm super excited about it. It's been a long time coming, but my intention for next year is to really go big with that and run it as a 12-week program. And I'm considering a mastermind of a 12-month program for it as well. And to do a lot more collaborations. So this right up here is one of those things I'm like, tick, thank you. I received that as a little nugget of my future endeavors. So yeah, doing a lot more collaborations. Depending on what the pandemic does and borders do, I would like to be doing a lot more traveling, living the digital nomad life stuff. And continuing to help women just find their inner confidence and letting it shine, and having the impact in the world that they're meant to have.
Yeah. So who is the online academy for? Who's in it? And then what do they get? What is the benefit? What do you talk about? What is it?
The academy is for conscious solopreneurs, coaches, speakers, and it is all centered around confidence, personal confidence, business confidence, and creative confidence. Those are the 3 content pillars. And then this program specifically is then those who want to really up their personal branding. And it's based and centered around personality archetypes. So I've got an online assessment, and they do the whole assessment, and they determine what their archetype is, and then using that insight into themselves, they basically start to flesh out their own personal brand plan. And so the membership side of it, so it's 2 tiers. The membership side is a monthly membership, and every month we've got a new guest expert who teaches a masterclass either on the personal, the business, or the creative confidence. They get stock photos, they get tech tutorials, because I'm a closet tech geek, member benefits. So that's the recurring monthly content that they get. And then with this program, they will walk away with the knowledge of their own archetype, how that is a crucial ingredient, or the crucial ingredient, in helping them connect with their audience in the online space. They will have the knowledge, the know-how, and the inspiration and the confidence to create the content. So it's no longer pulling your hair out to figure out, what am I going to post on Instagram today? With the archetype work, it gives you it's a no-brainer. It's just like, it's just so fluid, and I'm inspired and I'm excited. And then all of that flows through your post directly into the hearts and minds of the people that you're meant to be helping. And so that's what that's all about.
And how would you define a personal brand, just in case, you're saying that a couple times, and in case someone's like, wait, what is that? What does that include?
What now? Yeah. So personal branding is really about how you are being remembered. And I use myself as an example, because in my network in Cape Town, I know I've done a good job with my personal brand, because anytime anything around women's confidence comes up, people tag me, post, send, saw this, thought of you, saw this, thought of you. So I am remembered in my immediate network as the girl who works with women's confidence. And it's about designing and being very intentional about what you are projecting, who you are projecting, and having that consistency and that cohesiveness in your core message and the content that you put out there. And so it's about, you are the face of your business. People are going to be making up their minds about you. We are walking, talking, meaning-making machines. We are judging, you people watch all the time. You're making judgments about the people that you observe. So either one way or another, you're being judged. And when you get intentional about your personal branding, you are influencing the way in which you are being judged. You are guiding your audience to remember you for a certain thing, or a series of very well thought out intentional concepts.
Yeah.
So that's how I work with personal branding.
Yeah, well, an example of that in the comments over here, we have Liz, and I collaborated with her a couple weeks ago, but her thing is happiness. So you can say in her channel, like see in her channel name, Liz, that happy creator. And she does like happiness mantras, and she does happiness affirmations and happiness video. Like happiness is her thing. And like similar to you, like when other people see confidence things, you get tagged. I'm sure she gets tagged in happiness thing.
Happiness. Yeah.
And it's not altering who you are.
No.
It's adjusting other people's perception of you by putting a consistent type of content forward. Automatically, people are going to associate that with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, repetition is the mother of all learning. And the more consistently you are talking about showing up as teaching a particular topic or subject, that's what you become known for. And I see Liz there, the happy creator.
Happiness.
Awesome. Yeah. So and I remember the moment actually when I realized that confidence is my thing, because I was driving one day. I remember I stopped at the stop street. Do you have stop streets in America?
We have stop signs, like the little
stop signs. Yeah. I remember stopping at stopping the car at a stop street, and then I was like, oh, that's it, because I'd been mulling around a question in my mind for months and months and months and months. I was like, what do I give people beyond just photos? What do I give them beyond the tangible thing? And I was mulling. And then I was like, at that stop street, I give them their confidence. That's what I do. And from then on, it was like everything I do is all really comes back down to confidence.
Okay, so one more question, and then I'll ask how everyone can find you and connect with you. So this question, I love this question. I've been asking it for years. So if you had the opportunity to put something on a billboard in a really, really busy area. So for here, that would be like Los Angeles or New York, a busy, busy area, a lot of traffic, where lots of people will see it every single day. What message or piece of advice, quote, or couple words would you say on that billboard, and why?
Well, what came straight to mind, so I'll go with that, because this is not determined. I haven't practiced anything, but what came straight to mind, and I'm a big believer in go with gut, is you are enough. Just as you are. You are enough. Everybody's got their own journey, and the reason why that is because we're too conditioned to look outside, and you used this analogy yesterday. We're too conditioned to look outside of our lane at what somebody else is doing, and then we judge ourselves as not measuring up. And the fact is that, well, what somebody else is doing has got nothing to do with you. It's got nothing to do with your journey. Your journey is your own. And the only comparison you should ever permit is with the previous version of you, because that's when you know how far you've come. That's when you know what growth you've had. And wherever you are, and one of my favorite quotes is by a guy named Hal Elrod. He wrote The Miracle Morning, and it's not a quote, it's an affirmation. And it says, you are exactly where you're meant to be, to learn the things you need to learn, to become the person you need to be, to create the life you want.
Yeah.
And so whether it's good or it's bad, it just is, and you are enough. So
I love that. That's awesome. Thank you. So if someone's watching or listening, either live or looking back at the playback, and they're like, okay, Abigail's pretty smart. She knows what she's talking about. Maybe they felt refreshed from your perspective, or they just like you a lot. Where can they step into your world? Where can they learn more about you, your programs, or just hear more information coming from your lips, where are you?
So I started my website, abigailk.com. It's actually South African URL is .co.za, but the .com goes there as well, abigailk.com. My academy is caffeinate.com, and that's how you spell it. And I want to give you the name, why it's spelled like that.
Yeah.
Is because doing it that way, CAF is confident AF.
Oh, okay.
And then innate is because it's inherently in us. We all have it already. So that's where the caffeinate name comes from. So it's caffeinate.com. And otherwise on Instagram, I'm abigailk.caffeinate. On Facebook, abigailk.caffeinate. And on YouTube, Ms. Abigail K, I think.
I love that. Okay. Well, thank you for giving up a little bit of your evening, and thank you for just not holding back. You know, some may see us as competitors because we're doing the same thing, but in different ways. But thank you for just opening up with your vulnerability and showing up like, hey, like, this is how I see the world. This is what I've learned. This is what I think. I think that's really valuable, and more people need to be like you with the example of like collaboration, like working together. Like, we can't make everyone in the world confident. We have to do it together. So thank you for shining your light and coming in.
You're welcome. And thank you. It's because of you that we're sat here and that we've collaborated. You made this happen. So thank you for everything that you're doing. And it's affirming. It's affirming when you know what, you're not alone.
Yeah,
we're in this together, and the fact that somebody else is doing the same thing means that there's a need for this. And I'm very grateful to you.
Absolutely. Okay, so everyone who's watching, if you missed the first half, go and watch the beginning at the playback. And everyone who hung out with us, thank you so much for hanging out with us and listening to our story and engaging in the comments. It's been a good time. So I'll see you guys later.
Thank you. Bye.